Okay, so I asked you to try this problem on your own. It says that John says 6 times 1 is 6. Jeff says 6 times 0 is right. Who is right and how do you know? So, since the multiplication sign means group sub, I'm going to draw a picture. So I have 6 groups of 1. So I'm going to do 1 dot in each one. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 altogether. So I agree with John. Jeff says there's 6 groups of 0. So that would be 6 groups, but nothing's in them. So if there's not anything in them, there's nothing to count. So the answer would be 0. So John is right because 6 groups of 1 is 1. This one here. 6 groups of 1 is 1. I hope that makes sense. Maybe you figured it a different way. Maybe you added 6 one time. Maybe you tried to add 6, but you couldn't add it 0 times. However you figured it out is just fine, as long as your way makes sense and you got John as your answer. If you didn't, you can just write down what I wrote down and then we'll go on. So if you need more time to write this down, go ahead and hit pause. Okay, let's go on to this page. So this is page 116. And it says the same problem again. John says 6 times 1 equals 6. Jeff says 6 times 0 equals 6. Who is right? So with the model, they did the same kind of model I did. They did 6 groups. 1 in each group is 6. 6 groups is 0 in each group would be 0. Okay, so let's go on to page 117 to the connect it. Okay, so on page 117 it says, look at the model at 6 times 1. There are 6 groups of 1, so 6 times 1 is 6. Is John right? Yes, he's right, because 6 times 1 would be 6. So it says, draw the first modelet and add another group of 1s. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this matches the first modelet, but it wants one more group of 1. So now I have 7 groups of 1. So 7 times 1 would be 7 because I have one more group, so I have one more object. So it says, what do you notice about the number of groups and the product when you multiply 6 times 1 or 7 times 1? Well, if you look at 6 times 1, it stays as 6. If you do 7 times 1, it stays as 7. So when you multiply by 1, it's always the other number. Sorry, my handwriting is so messy. It's really hard to write on this tablet. Look at the second modelet. 6 times 0, there is still 6 groups, but there's nothing in those groups. So 6 times 0 has to be 0. So is Jeff right? No, Jeff is not right, because there can't be 6 if there's nothing in each group. So what would happen if you added more groups of nothing? Well, if you have more groups of nothing, you would still have 0 because you wouldn't be adding anything. So what do you think is true about the product multiplied by a 1 or multiplied by a 0? So if it's multiplied by a 1, then your answer is going to be the other number. And if it's multiplied by 0, your answer will always be 0. So I want you to go ahead and write your answer to number 7. Just read it with your mom and write number 7. And then you're going to go ahead and finish the rest of this section, those page numbers that I put in your assignment sheet. Let me know if you have questions during live, and have fun with multiplication.